Europe towards the Middle East, particularly Israel. Now, Israelis have paid their respects at a memorial for the victims of the 7th October 2023 Hamas terrorist attack at the Nova Music Festival, which killed more than 370 people and left dozens hostage. Residents of Kibbutz Kfar Aza near the Gaza border have also marked the second anniversary of the deadly terrorist attack as Hamas and Israeli negotiators continue indirect talks to end the two-year war in Gaza under a US proposed peace plan. Meanwhile, in Australia, parliamentarians from both the government and opposition marked the anniversary of this heinous terrorist attack, expressing solidarity with hostages and victims' families. In fact, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese stated that their government stands with Jewish communities worldwide against anti-Semitism. Let's listen in to what Australia's opposition leader Susan Ley has said.
To those seeking to protest, heed this simple message: stop. Seeking to use October 7 to advance your political agenda is abhorrent and un-Australian. Today cannot be only about words. As we mark October 7, we must recommit ourselves to taking action to stamp out anti-Semitism and to affirm our support for the existence of Israel, the world's only.
Australian Jewish groups have condemned a pro-Palestinian rally planned at the Sydney Opera House for the 12th of October, warning that it could incite hatred and call for the destruction of Israel. In fact, similar messages supporting Hamas were reported on billboards and walls in Melbourne, prompting police investigations. Now, the anniversary of the terrorist attack has also highlighted surging anti-Semitic and Islamophobic incidents in Australia since the war began earlier itself. With us on the broadcast is Mr. Matty Zweig, geopolitical expert, joining us from Tel Aviv. So it's been 2 years since that terrible terrorist attack had taken place, targeting a music festival, targeting the elderly, young children who were then taken hostages. And now talks are taking place in Egypt. What is, in fact, the mood like on the ground? It must be very somber today, marking the 2-year anniversary of this tragedy.
Well, good morning. And yes, indeed, it's a very somber day. It's a very painful day because Israel has been in his existence of almost 78 years, witnessed many cases of pain, many wars, many wounded, but they usually, in most of the cases, except of course in terror actions that have been occurring in the territory, in most of the cases they were against the army. And there were soldiers involved with all the pain. There was part of a war. In this case, there was the worst pogrom made against the Jewish people since the Holocaust. It was, people cannot understand what did this to the country. This is before and an after. Usually in Israel, it was usually divided between political ideas or what is wrong and what is not wrong, and what to do with the enemies. And today, public opinion has shifted about a very, very negative opinion of the Palestinian cause, because they understand that there is a big part of this coast that is jihadistical, genocidal, is not talking about a Palestinian state, is not talking about a future of good neighborhood between two countries as it was voted by the United Nations in 1947 and implemented in 1948 only from the Israeli side and never, never from the Palestinian side. And this is to add to all the pain that is today. If we count all the people murdered in Nova, in the kibbutzim, in the Moshav, in all the villages around Gaza, that until that moment, they were open to Gazans. Gazans coming fluently every day to work. And now we know that they came to work, and many of them, they just passed information on how to attack and to murder terribly the people that they were hosting them and paying them for the work. I mean, this is a terrible betrayal that is going to last for maybe 100 years, if everything is okay. And we are trying now to reach a point that we can not do in peace, because it's not going to be peace unless Hamas is going to be erased completely, militarily, from the ground, and give also the Palestinians a chance to live in peace with their neighbors. It means with us, because also the Palestinians have been kidnapped by this genocidal jihadist terrorist movement, and not only our country, and not only our last 48 hostages. They are still rotting in their caves and in their tunnels, and they are still holding them to keep a grip on the power that they already have not. And I know that all the world is very angry, and they confuse war with genocide. They confuse the right to self-determination and defending yourself with the right of terrorists to attack civilians. People is confused, and this situation in the last 2 years has uncovered not how many anti-Israel are in the world, but also how many anti-Semites are in the world, because they are attacking also innocent people in the local Jewish communities around the world, which means that you are not anti-Israel, you are anti-Semite for all these people that has been doing this terrible thing like attacking synagogues, attacking civilians. And this is what the Australians were talking about, and good that there is a group of parliamentarians that they do this, because they are less and less in the world that they are doing this, even in our allies in Europe and sometimes in the United States. I mean, this is crazy. This is 1,997 people that has been murdered since the beginning of all these hostilities. And now we are trying to reach a point that we can do a ceasefire and start reconstructing and having also, from a psychological point of view, everybody must rest. Nobody wants to harm civilians, Palestinians, but Israel is trying to free their hostage, to dismantle this terrorist organization, and many people is supporting them, confusing completely the aims of this conflict.
Sir, you've pointed out that we've recently seen a rise in anti-Semitism. We recently seen the tragic terrorist attack in Manchester. Before that, we've seen similar such attacks in Boulder, in Colorado, in Los Angeles, in Washington, D.C. as well, where Jews have specifically been targeted. Now, in your assessment, to what extent does online discourse, especially anti-Semitic rhetoric online, what role does it play in fueling anti-Jewish hatred that manifests in such terrorist attacks?
Anti-Jewish sentiments have been spread over the Western world first, and now in all the countries. You know, it's very hard to explain. As a Jewish, liberal, democratic person that I am, and all the people I know, and millions of people that they are the same in the Jewish people around the world, it's very, very hard to understand. But we have always understood there is always a need for a scapegoat, because every time that, look what is going on in some countries like in Spain, they are rotten to the core with their political establishment being accused of a lot of corruption, and to move the public opinion from this, they are 24 hours a day talking about Gaza, talking about Israel, trying to blame Jews for all kinds of things. I mean, for Jews, it's like coming back to the Inquisition times. And people don't understand that. You are not talking against Gaza because clearly you have very, very bigger problems in quantity and in importance in the world, like millions dying in Sudan, in Congo, the repressions of the Chinese, of the Muslims in China. I mean, nobody talk about anything because they are all forgotten countries or very big countries that nobody want to touch them. It has been, okay, people say more than 60,000 dead in Gaza. This is terrible, but nobody says that most of these people, maybe 60% at least, they are terrorists that were attacking Israel and not Israel attacking them in 7th of October. The people don't talk now like they want to forget that there are 1 million dead between Russia and Ukraine, and you don't see a flotilla of peace activists sailing to the Odessa port to support Ukraine. Nobody's going to do that because they fear they are going to be sunk. Israel doesn't sink these sails at their cost. They took their ships, they put them on a plane back to their countries, even with all the pain of people that they are trying to demonize Israel and to make them the bad guy for all the problems in the world. We are living crazy time, not only for the Jewish people, not only for the Israelis. We are living crazy times because everything is completely against our core values of not only the Western world. I mean, the main values of not lying and not twisting and not biasing the minimal truths, because if the Palestinians deserve a country, let's talk about it. Let's make a dialogue of peace. Let's make a dialogue of peace if the Catalans in Catalonia, they deserve a country, or the Basques, or Scotland, but nobody is doing that. They are avoiding everything, and the big Satan of the world, for anti-Semites and for anti-Israel and for all the people that want to avoid their own failures and their own corruptions in their governments, are pointed now to Israel. Israel has a lot of things to change. At least 60 to 65% of the population in all surveys in the last 1.5 years at least, they are against this government. They want to change it, but they will change it as they usually change it in the last 77 years, in elections, in democratic elections. Israel is the only democratic country in the Middle East, a liberal democracy, and the world choose to attack Israel. Shame, shame on all those people. And Israel is not perfect, as I said. They have to change things. And now they did the first step to accept the Trump plan with 20 points that at least 13 of them are not very nice to Israel ears. They would like it different to assure that in the next 100 years, it would not be a terrorist movement in Gaza Strip or anywhere that is going to attack Israel like they terribly did the 7th of October, not only attacking people, not only murdering them, but enjoying the murder. They film on cameras everything, how they rape women, how they burn babies even in microwaves. They did such terrible things that we didn't listen about them since the Holocaust. And people is applauding this movement. This is completely, the world is upside down. Something must change.
All right, so I request you to stay on with us. We're tracking further